Does anyone know what this means?
Well, it's a punch type.
Is it?
Is it?
Braille.
So this is Braille, yeah. So it's written in English. Any guesses what it might mean?
Is it 3 words?
It's 3 words.
First one.
So it's do you understand? So title of the talk is do you understand? And I presented it in Braille because I'm going to talk about kind of chatbots and what we've been doing with chatbots and lessons we've learned for interacting with the chatbot. So just because you're speaking the same language, if there's something slightly off in how it's presented, if it's kind of not given to you in the format that you expect it to be given to you, then it kind of throws you off, right? You don't really know what's going on. The machine needs to understand you, and you need to equally understand the machine, right, when it gives it back. So, but first I'm going to start with a story about food. So, about 6 months ago, I wasn't feeling quite myself. I had some kind of really bad stomach aches and stuff, and essentially, I've got a family history of celiac disease. So, I immediately recognised the symptoms. I thought, oh, like this is exactly what my mum had a few years ago. I'm going to have to go see the doctor, get a blood test. It's really straightforward. So I called my GP surgery and I spoke to the receptionist and I said, look, I know exactly what it is. I just need the blood test to confirm it so that I can get the prescription, whatever. And she said, before we can put you in for a blood test, you're going to have to see the doctor. There's no appointments today. You can call up at 8 o'clock tomorrow and you might be able to get an appointment. And I thought, well, this is terrible. Can I not just go straight and see the nurse, right? I know it's just this blood test, whatever. No, definitely not. So the next day, 8 AM, I called up and I spoke to a different receptionist. I explained the problem and said, I think I need to see the doctor so that I can get the blood test with the nurse. And she said, I'll just put you on the phone with the doctor now. It'll take you 30 seconds. And I was like, okay, what? I don't understand why it's different speaking to a different receptionist on a different day, but whatever. Spoke to the doctor, 30 seconds later, I had an appointment for the next day. I could go in and see the nurse for my blood test. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Does anyone go to the doctors? Yeah? Right. So the problem we have here is that kind of healthcare in this country is a little bit broken, right? The NHS is primarily focused on sick care at the minute. They don't do very much in the way of preventative health. So we're not trying to tread on the NHS's toes by any stretch, but it's the equivalent of taking a taxi when you did take a bus, right? It's just sometimes more convenient to pay a little bit more money and you might get there a little bit. So that's my employer, PushDoctor. And at the minute, our core product is that you can see a doctor online within 6 minutes. It's a private paid-for service, like I said, it's 20 quid for an appointment with a GMC registered doctor, so exactly the same as you'd see with an NHS. We provide prescriptions and sick notes and referrals, and we can send you little blood test kits that you can do at home if you want to prick your finger and kind of milk it. It's a little bit weird. In July of this year, we closed 20 million in Series B funding. And so we're kind of putting this money to good use, right? And one of the aspects that we want to focus on is AI. So I was brought in to look at this, what we could do. And one of the biggest problems that we've got is that we've got a massive call centre in Manchester. Obviously, seeing a doctor online is quite a novel experience. So we're adding call centre employees at the same rate as we're adding customers, essentially. So, we sign up a new customer and we get a new employee and put them in the call centre and say, you answer this person's questions, whatever. But it's not scalable in the long run. Like, we're going to get through our 20 million quid in about 6 weeks at this rate. So a lot of the chats come in online, and so we thought, well, if we analyse them, can we answer them with the FAQs? Is it a case that people aren't reading the FAQs? And yes, about 50% of our queries come in and they can be answered by the FAQs. Now, you can't blame anyone for this. Healthcare is quite an emotional problem. You go and see the doctor when you're ill, and you don't really want to sit there and sit through FAQs and go, oh God, like, is this a thing, whatever. So they just jump on the chat and they say, hey, are you a real thing? Can I see a doctor? Can I get a prescription? So we thought, all right, let's build a chatbot to triage the easiest questions, which we did. And this is the story of kind of where we got to, 12,500 conversations later. And these are the 5 traits that I want you to consider if anyone builds chatbots. Is anyone working in AI today, actually building stuff for the real world? Yeah? Good? Quite a few people? Yeah? Judge the audience, right? Building chatbots? Cool? Good? A lot? Awesome. So yeah, well, let's assume that the actual chatbot bit is solved, right? We can go on to AWS and we can make something in Lex in about 30 minutes and it goes out live. this is the bits that you need to add to take it from being an interesting bit of technology to being an actually functioning thing that people are going to use, and these are the lessons that we've learned through all of our conversations. This is a job that didn't really exist a few years ago, right? Who was designing chatbots 3 years ago? Essentially no one. But actually this is the bit that's important. This is what takes it from a bedroom toy or a research project at a university or whatever to being something that real companies can deploy and actually add value to their business. So the 5 traits are appearance, personality, helpfulness, humility, and integrity. I'm going to explain what those mean and give you examples of kind of how we apply it. So first let's start with appearance. So how do you present the bot to the users? Is it human? Is it robot? Is it somewhere in between? And I'm not going to give you an instruction manual and say this is the exact amount of human features that this bot requires in order to work, because it depends on the context, right? So I want to start with kind of counterexamples. So there was a study not long ago that said if you give your dog a human name, it's more likely to be a beast. Which is quite interesting, right? We're hardwired as humans to be nice to other humans, so if you give your dog a human name, you kind of feed it more and you give it a treat and you say, oh, he's going to enjoy that. It's a dog, like it doesn't enjoy it anymore, it's just getting fat. So we overlook flaws because we start to treat it like another human being. And actually, it's such a bad habit that it's kind of everywhere at the minute. If you walk into a shop and there's a self-service checkout that says this is not working, it's like to have a sign on it. And instead of saying, I'm not working, or no, sorry, it's out of service, it says I'm poorly at the minute. The machine's not poorly, the machine's not called the flu. It's just malfunctioning, right? Stop treating it like it's a human, because you're just going to cause problems with yourself. So Lewis is our chatbot. And this is in the very early days of Lewis, I can assure you it's a lot better now. Someone came on and said, I have a problem with my face. They didn't say what the problem was, but we assumed that it was kind of going to get there in the end. And Lewis jumped in and said, you can use PushDoctor if you're aged 18. It obviously misclassified it and said, doesn't know what the answer is. And probably what's happened here is that it's associated the word problem with the problem of signing up, because that's what they say, I'm having a problem signing up. And so that's where this is probably come from. Because people don't typically say, I've got a problem when they're talking to the doctor. They use softer language. So the problem here is that Lewis has got a human face, and Lewis has got a human name. So when he jumps in too quickly and gives an answer that they're not expecting, it looks stupid at best and unprofessional at worst. This person who says, okay, great, but can you actually help me, is thinking, God, this person's annoying, they just want to sell me the service, right? Yeah, I know, I can use it, whatever. It just looks really salesy, and it's not what people want with their pill. If this person's got a problem, they're already in a state of heightened emotion, and they want to kind of fix the thing that's wrong with them. They don't want to have to deal with weird people who give weird answers to questions. And what's worse is that none of the customer service agents flagged it as a problem. And they said it's his first week, as though it was one of their team members. I have no word of a lie, this is genuinely what happened. So no one flagged it. They heard it was machine learning and it's going to get better over time, so there's an element of that going on there. But these are people that when we give them software, if it's buggy and doesn't work, they're on the phone immediately. They're not kind of hanging around waiting for it to maybe get better in its own time. Just the act of giving it a human name and a human face meant people treated it differently, treated it as though it was a real human. So just consider that, if you're designing a bot, how human is it appropriate for it to be? The next one is personality. So, is it funny, is it serious, is it sarcastic or upfront? Is it needy or is it just there when you want it? And remember that no personality is also a personality. So it could be bland as anything, but that's still a designed personality. So who remembers Flippy? Flippy was super eager, really annoying, always there, and it's no, Flippy, go away, I can write my own letter. But Microsoft has grown up a little bit in the last kind of 15 years, and now we've got Cortana, so it's essentially the same technology, and it's essentially doing the same job.
Yeah.
Essentially just as annoying, but arguably is giving better answers and kind of just being a little bit more relaxed about things, and it's not always jumping at you and saying, hey, can I help you write this letter? These are opposite ends of the spectrum. And so somewhere in there is a sweet spot for your application. Somewhere you want it to be, sometimes helpful, sometimes not, whatever. It's a choice you need to make. So if you remember back to the previous example with Lewis didn't say, hi, thanks for getting in touch, which is just like a friendly human thing that we need to happen. Remember that we're dealing with ill people who want reassurance. He used to just dive in with, yeah, here's an answer. And then people are like, okay, fine, but like maybe slow it down, just say hello, make them feel welcome. So we added this kind of friendly greeting, which is like, hey, thanks for getting in touch. But we don't sugarcoat it. This is a designed personality in the sense that, no, you can't get medical advice on chat, you need to talk to a doctor, and he's very upfront and very clear about it. There's no misunderstanding this, but he says sorry, and it adds those kind of human elements. But it's there. We can't provide medical advice through chat, and there's no arguing with it. The next one is helpfulness. So this is how easy it is to talk to the bot. Does it guide you through the conversation, or does it confuse you? And again, there's no right answer here. If you think of the cockpit of like a jumbo jet, there's a million switches everywhere. Like that's an intentional UX design to make sure that it's inherently taxing that you perform the action that you want to do by thinking about it before just reaching for a switch and flicking it. So I'm going to show you an example now that like they just absolutely terrible and led you down a path. But yeah, there's a reason why you might want to do that. So Skyscanner, back in the, this was a couple of years ago, launched a Facebook Messenger bot. And you go on and you can kind of do a bunch of stuff like finding flights. So where do you want to fly to? And I said, I want to go to Morocco. And then it asks where I'm flying from. And I wanted to compare the prices, so I typed in Birmingham or London, which is exactly what I'd want to do if I was talking to another human being, right? They presented it as a bot. I felt like I could chat in a normal way. And it said, you're flying from Birmingham, United Kingdom. Like the most bossy bot in the world. Didn't give me a choice, didn't say, oh, would you like to clarify, whatever. Skyscanner probably employs like 1,000 or a couple of thousand people or whatever, and I managed to break into my second message. Like no one has considered that there might be ways of deviating from their script that they haven't thought about. And actually it's so easy to fix. Without changing any technology, where are you flying from? Pick your first choice departure airport. We can do another search later if you want to compare the prices from different airports. In which case, my answer is, well, probably Birmingham. But just give me a clear prompt in this instance, anticipated the pitfall, and fixed it before it even got to be a problem. So, there's a whole range of people who come onto PushDoctor thinking that they can just buy whatever drug they want. So can you prescribe diazepam for a hospital? Diazepam's like opioid or whatever. And so that we don't have to compute like a million conditions and a million drugs and say, right, can we actually prescribe it? We just give a generic answer. We can only write prescriptions for medications that are safe for us to prescribe online. Now I can tell you for a fact that 99.5% of people who come onto our site and say, can I have an opioid, know that they can't get it because they can't get it from their GP, they can't buy it online, they can't do anything else. Right? They know what the answer is before, but they want to try their luck. For that 0.05% of people, there is an invitation for a further question. So let us know if you're worried your medication might not be prescribed, and we can get our clinical review committee to look into it. Do you know how many people have asked for a drug to be checked? 0. Absolutely 0 people, but it's there if they need it, right? It invites the further question, but no one so far has needed to do it.
It looks like we're doing something wrong.
So next is humility. So chances are the bot's going to get confused, chances are it doesn't have all the answers. Does it get out of the way? Does it admit it doesn't know what it's doing? Or does it kind of sit there and like force you through a funnel? So I booked a flight to Iceland with Iceland Air quite recently, but I booked the wrong dates. So I went onto Facebook because it was the day that Monarch went bust, so I couldn't get through to Expedia, I couldn't get through to anyone else on the phone. So I went onto Facebook and I got presented with a bot. And it said, what can I do for you? Book a flight, seat an itinerary, or chat with an agent. And I thought, well, I don't want to book a flight, I've already got one. I don't know what seat and itinerary refers to in this context. Chat with an agent, fine. So I clicked on chat with an agent, and it said, I'll forward you a message to one of our human agents. Well, I haven't typed a message yet, so far I've just clicked a button that says let me talk with a person. Why do I have to ask permission to talk to a person in this context? And I don't go anywhere else in order to type the message to the human agent. It just feels like the bot's getting in the way, even though it can't really help me. So Lewis, in this case, wasn't able to identify what the answer should be for where is the Cardiff branch. This is someone who thought that we were an NHS walking centre rather than a private online GP. And so Lewis didn't say anything. He didn't say, oh, bear with, let me just check with a human person. Just got out of the way, and in this case, Liam came on and said, we don't have any physical surgeries or practices. There's no point giving a bad answer in this situation, or having a user request more help from something. Just get out of the way. And the final example is integrity. So this is, does the bot behave in a way that people would expect it to behave? Don't abuse the trust that people give you. So Mika the Hipster Cat bot was one of the first Facebook Messenger bots. And basically you would give it a location, it would tell you some kind of hipster places to go. So I typed in Birmingham and it suggested Starbucks and Birmingham Cathedral. I wasn't very impressed with having coffee served in jars, so I thought I'm going to get out of here. And then 2 months, 3 months later, Mika popped back up into my Facebook Messenger thing, got the alert, and it said, oh, we haven't seen you in a while. I was like, yeah, because I didn't want to talk to you. Like, it's not a friend, I don't want to chat to you all the time. I didn't expect it, didn't want it, and now like I'm pretty annoyed and I'm probably never going to come back and use it. In this case, I felt like my trust had been abused, right?
You didn't press show a cat picture?
I didn't, no, I pressed disable notification.
Oh.
That's what they want, that's why they...
That's what I want.
Yeah, fine.
Show cat picture, disable notification.
So of course there are times when this is appropriate. So, if I'd gone onto a bot and I'd asked for some legal advice or some financial advice, whatever, at some point down the line, I might want someone to follow up and say, yeah, did that work for you, is this fine? But in this case, it wasn't. There's, again, a sliding scale where some things are appropriate and some things aren't. So these are my favourite people that use the chatbot, and they're the people that are too afraid to go to the doctor. So people saying, I'm showing signs of chlamydia or whatever. You would not believe the amount of dick pics that we get sent through this. I'm going to build a classic, hot dog, not hot dog. So the chat is advertised as kind of not confidential in the sense that you're not talking to a doctor, and we obviously don't spread anything around, but we don't use the things you tell us for any other purpose than answering the question that's given. The chatbot isn't your friend, and actually it'd be really creepy in this situation to kind of message them back 2 months later and say, have your symptoms cleared up, like, everything alright? It would just be like really weird. There's a choice, again, to be made over kind of how much integrity this bot has. So they're the 5 things that I think really need to be considered when you're designing a bot. The appearance, how human or robotic to make it. The personality, things like funny, patient, witty. Helpfulness, is it easy to talk to? Humility, does it admit when it doesn't know? And integrity, does it behave as you'd expect it? Now, these are the rules, so you've got to learn the rules like a pro, so you can break them like an artist, as Picasso would say. As with all of these things, they're guidelines, and there will be situations where you do want to break them. But unless you have a good foundation and you know the choices that you're making, accidental choices are going to come back and haunt you. So that is my talk. If anyone would like to use PushDoctor, there's a £5 off code here. Thank you very much. Any questions? Hello.
Hi. I've got one which is, has there been much research that you know of as to whether people prefer to know they're talking to a bot versus like a fake human?
So, it depends on the situation. So, I am quite good friends with someone who designed like the self-service checkouts for a supermarket chain in Amsterdam. And he said, I was chatting to him, and he said, absolutely, always make sure it's presented as a bot. People want to know that they're talking to a bot. But we've stuck with Lewis so far with a human face because of that emotional connection. it works for a supermarket that you want to talk to a robot because it's not an emotional connection. You just need it to be emotional enough that you feel it's going to give you a correct answer. If we presented it as a proper robot, robot avatar, robot name, whatever, people would ask that question and then ultimately say, well, I don't want to search through the FAQs and I don't want to navigate the chatbot, just let me get straight to a human. We triage that by presenting it as a human and giving the answer. At that point, it gets out of the way. It doesn't try and follow up and doesn't try to figure out exactly how many, follow-up questions, all that sort of thing. It just gives one answer and gets out of the way until you ask something, start a new chat later.
How much sort of AI and machine learning is involved in training this bot versus how much actual people sit down learning from real experience of programming?
So,
what sort of percentage or?
In terms of time, the bot was built in about 3 weeks by me single-handedly, and there's probably 50 customer service agents handling, who work kind of full-time in shifts. So that's a scale team. The bot itself is handling 15% of all the queries we're doing at the minute, so 1 in 7. We expect to be able to get it to about 40% with a bit more training, a bit more data, a few more examples, things like that, just based on our kind of research into the data of the question set that we had at the beginning.
I don't think that was a question.
Was it not? Sorry.
No. To what extent is a bot learning stuff by itself
at
this point in time versus having to be redeveloped and
right,
by you and your team?
It's learning by the customer service agents going in and reviewing the answers. So they go in and say, right, was that answered correctly, and they give it a check if it was done, and they would.
Does they review a percentage of it?
No, they review all of it.
They review all of its answers.
Yeah, because it's we don't give medical advice over chat, but that doesn't stop people asking questions. So because it's almost clinical in its setting, we kind of have to do a load anyway. It would work on a fraction. We launched it to live, answering real questions with 500 queries, and we get 12,500 over the last 3 months. So.
And then they feed back to you to inform development.
Yeah, well, we built a dashboard, so it just feeds directly back in. So they said yes for this one, or no, this one should have been this, and it trains it directly.
Yeah.
Is that costly? Should we have the chat afterwards with Josh over a beer?
Yeah.
We've got about 15 minutes for Kojo. Cool. It's all right. Thanks a lot, Josh. That was awesome.